consciousness can hear the voice of the greatest creator. Xiefeng. In the vast universe, there are billions and trillions of voices, each expressing their own thoughts. As long as we use spiritual perception, consciousness, to listen, we can hear them. Common sense tells us that hearing relies on ears, and without ears, we cannot hear any sound or better understand the intentions of others. However, I advise we discard common sense and explore whether we can hear without ears. Let's start with an example. Helen Keller, an American blind writer, hailed by the Encyclopedia Britannica as one of the most accomplished representatives of disabled individuals in history. She embodied blindness, deafness, and muteness in one person. Despite being deaf, she could hear the voices of others, not through her ears but through touch. She would place her index finger on the speaker's lips, her middle finger on their nose, and her thumb on their throat, enabling her to hear their voice clearly. By placing her hand on a violin, she could hear the melodies played on it. This fact demonstrates that we can understand the voices of others even without using our ears. We can hear through the sense of touch. People with arthritis, as long as they pay attention, can be the first to hear the sound of climate change. When the river water warms up, ducks are the first to know, and sunlit flowers and trees meet spring early. The sounds of spring are first heard by certain animals and plants. Listening can be categorized into 3 levels. Using ears to listen is the primary level, using senses to listen is the second level, and using spiritual perception, consciousness, to listen is the highest level. What ears hear are the appearances of things, what senses hear are the processes of things, what consciousness hears are the essences of things. If someone says, "I love you," and you hear it with your ears, you perceive a sweet and pleasant sound, which is the superficial aspect. However, if you can feel the sound of love, then love has taken on a process. And if you can hear the sound of love with your consciousness, that love becomes a selfless and enchanting love. The love heard with ears is fleeting, the love sensed is enduring, and the love heard with consciousness is eternal. The supreme love is silent. To generalize further, the sounds heard with ears are often illusory, the sounds sensed are a mixture of reality and illusion, difficult to discern truth from falsehood, while the sounds heard with consciousness are genuine. The loudest sound is silence, the sound of silence can only be heard through consciousness. When a strong wind blows across the wilderness, we can hear the sound of the wind with our ears. When a gentle breeze passes through the wilderness, we can perceive the sound of the wind through our senses. However, there are countless sounds of the wind that we cannot hear with our ears or perceive with our senses. We need to use spiritual perception, consciousness, to listen. On a hot day, if you can quiet your mind and listen with consciousness to the sound of the Arctic's icy landscapes, you will immediately feel cool. On a cold night, if you can hear the sound of the flowing lava from a volcanic eruption, you will not feel cold. In this statement, there's a fundamental difference between what's imagined and what's actually perceived with consciousness. For instance, during hunger, envisioning eating lavish dishes doesn't solve the hunger issue. Yet, when consciousness is used to simulate eating, the sensation of hunger isn't felt. This pertains to a matter of different levels. If one exercises consciously, like Helen Keller did, they will discover many natural mysteries. On a calm, windless night, you raise your palm and feel in all directions. You will notice a cool breeze coming from certain directions and a warm gust from others. Over time, your palm will be able to discern the sound of any object, whether it's directed towards mountains, rivers, trees, flowers, houses, cars, people, or tables. You can hear their sounds. For example, when you hold your palm against a book, a thin book rolled up in your hand, you can sense its essence. Some books emit warmth, others coolness, while some books have no discernible temperature. If you can't feel anything, the reason lies not in the material itself, but in the lack of conscious training within yourself. It's like an ordinary piece of iron that lacks magnetization, it has no magnetism and therefore lacks north and south poles to distinguish between them. If we plug our ears and place our fingertips on someone's lips, we won't hear the person speaking, but Helen Keller could. The reason is that we haven't undergone conscious training. The Creator of the universe created human beings but did not grant us extraordinary hearing. Instead, our range of hearing is limited to 20 to 20,000 Hz. We are unable to hear sounds outside of this range. If we were able to hear infrasound and ultrasound, our days will have no peace. The sound of our heartbeat would be louder than drums, the sound of brushing our teeth would be like the earth shaking, and the sound of drinking water would resemble the roaring of the Victoria Falls. How could we bear such intensity? Everything has a sound. Any movement generates sound. When a jet plane takes off, it creates a deafening noise. However, if the frequency of its sound during takeoff exceeds 20,000 Hz, it becomes silent. In reality, it is not truly silent but rather beyond our range of hearing. There are certain sounds we cannot hear because we are ordinary individuals, and only a few exceptional people can hear them because they are extraordinary beings. There are certain sounds we cannot hear because we are listening with our ears, while some individuals can hear them because they are listening with their consciousness. The thoughts and activities of the human mind have sound, the processes of conscious thinking have sound. These sounds accurately and unmistakably reveal the inner world of every individual to the vast world. Consequently, the greatest Creator also accurately and unmistakably knows the nobility and baseness of our inner world. In Chinese history, many extraordinary individuals emerged who possessed knowledge of numerous mysteries of the universe. They warned us, even whispered words are heard by heaven like thunder, hidden intentions are seen by divine eyes like lightning, keep your heart pure and your thoughts clear, desire no guilt in the open, offend not in the unseen, in all matters, advise against concealing the truth, for within 3 feet above your head, there are divine beings, and so on. They explicitly conveyed to us that any activity within our inner world generates a sound that may be inaudible to humans but is distinctly heard by the greatest Creator and gods and Buddhas, resonating like thunderous lightning. Jesus, Shakyamuni, Laozi, and others have left us with wisdom rather than the mysteries of the universe. Jesus explicitly stated that pearls should not be thrown to pigs and that he spoke in parables so that those with wicked hearts would not understand. Shakyamuni also primarily spoke for those on the path of the Mahayana. Laozi similarly understood that if the petty-minded individuals were to grasp the mysteries of the universe, it would bring endless harm. Lifechanyuan has made the greatest efforts and has led everyone to the edge of the mysteries of the universe. Looking at human history, the current state of human hearts is worse than before. In truth, humans no longer qualify to continue existing on this beautiful blue planet. However, gods and Buddhas are unwilling to give up and still want to make one last effort, even though the chances of realizing this desire are only 1 in 10,000. Everything within our inner being is heard without omission by the greatest Creator. Similarly, the greatest Creator selflessly communicates his intentions to each and every one of us. The reason we cannot hear the voice of the greatest Creator lies in the fact that our spiritual perception, consciousness, has become deaf. We have been misled by appearances, our consciousness is too chaotic and restless, and we lack concentration and focus. Shakyamuni sat under the Bodhi tree for 7 days and nights, fully concentrated, before hearing the voice of the greatest Creator and attaining enlightenment to become a Buddha. Any individual who can hear the voice of the greatest Creator will undoubtedly achieve Buddhahood. The souls can resonate with one another, and extraordinary consciousness can hear the voice of the greatest Creator. May all beings become Buddhas.